Warning, this podcast may cause introspection, celebration of the self, and the revelation of your Black girl magic superpowers. We firmly believe that Black women are not only magical, but we are as invaluable and powerful as vibranium. Our podcast is dedicated to empowering Black and brown women to embrace the transformative power of astrology and tarot. Through these intuitive arts, the Melanated Mystics will guide you to explore and connect with your deep inner magic and help you to finally release the burdens of Black Superwoman syndrome. It's time to redirect our energies inward and prioritize ourselves on this transformative journey of self-discovery.
All right, everybody. All right. We're here. This is going to be probably one of the most exciting episodes of the Melanated Mystics because we have a really amazing guest with us today. And I told Halicue earlier, don't let me gush, please. Don't let me gush, okay? Because
she might gush a little bit.
Just a tiny bit. Okay. Oh, okay, all right. Okay, I'm a gush then because I have honestly been following you for so long, and it's been you're my friend in my head, okay, and just the idea that I get to look at your chart now, I get to see, I feel like I have a relationship. It's just a real joy to be able, and really a dream come true to be able to have you here. And to be able to speak with you as a person and as an artist. And it is such a pleasure for me and really a little dream of mine to be able to have you here, to talk with you, to speak with you as a woman, as a mystic, as an artist. And honestly, to kind of welcome you into the age of Aquarius, because I really think you are like the artist of the age of Aquarius. I do. And she's setting the standard. That's what I'm trying to say. And I'm just anyway, today, everybody, we have one of the most multifaceted, multi-talented artists on the planet, seriously. And we are so lucky that she is a fellow Melanated Mystic. You are going to be seeing her all over the age of Aquarius. And this is just the beginning. Jade Novah has been viewed over 150 million times online. I would say 50 million is at least me, okay? And amassed a social media following of over 2.5 million. Let me say that again, because seriously, that's no small feat. I know you know this, but over 2.5 million. Jade is known for everything from her incredible vocals, original music, to her conscious community. I want to learn all about that. And hilarious viral videos. Let me tell you, I have never seen anybody do Toni Braxton like you. And I'm going to just say, you don't have to do it today, but woo. Okay, for those who know, okay, now Jade is an NAACP Image Award nominated singer who just released her third album, Where Have I Been? Just that name, Where Have I Been, brings me to tears, which debuted at number 2 on the R&B iTunes charts independently. Number 2, y'all, okay? So this album is an innovative hybrid of a contemporary R&B album and storytelling podcast. That's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, I'm reading this thing and going, this is innovative at its core. This album is an innovative hybrid of a contemporary R&B album and a storytelling podcast that takes listeners on a journey into self-love, and I would even say evolution. Along with the album, Jade also released Where Have I Been, a self-love workbook. Okay, based on the songs from the album, this interactive journal provides 24 journal prompts, guided reflections, and self-love activities to support her community on their healing journey. And I'm going to just say, real quick, and then I'm going to let you talk, I swear. Halicue and I started this podcast because we were living examples of how astrology and tarot has helped us as Black and brown women to heal the stigmas, the traumas, the projections that other people often project onto us as a collective. So these two mystical modalities, along with human design, Akashic records, etc., we could go on and on, they help clear away all of that disassociation, that cognitive dissonance, that societal gaslighting. They help us see our original recipe so that we can create our lives from a space of wholeness and authenticity. I've always been a fan of yours, but when I saw that you had created an album narrating your journey into yourself, and you mention astrology and tarot, and you have a workbook to support people through the process of self-study, I was like, she's here. The artist that is going to lead us into this new age is here. And I reached out to you with my fingers crossed, asking if you would be a guest on our podcast, and you got back to me within hours. I am so grateful and so thankful you agreed to do this, and I'm so honored to have you here. And thank you, and welcome, Jade Novah, to the Melanated Mystics.
Welcome, 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 welcome.
Thank you guys. No, look, I'm out here reflecting you guys. And when I saw you, I'm like, it just felt aligned. Like it makes so much sense. And I'm healing and I'm dedicated to it, but you guys know it's a never ending journey. And like, in order for us to keep climbing and to keep growing and evolving, we have to connect with other people on this journey who are doing the work. And there's so much I do not know. There's so much I'm still learning. So to be able to have Melanated Mystics who can help me navigate all this new information, like, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful.
And we're grateful for you. Speaking of the work, when we said no, but like work, but we were like, but that's how we know you're serious about helping people do the work, and how the music is so much, it can be and do so much more, right? As that beautiful element air. And when we see that you've taken the time and the energy to give us a tool to use along with it to help us integrate, that is a gift of love. Like, that truly is like a gift from a creator. Like, not just entertainment, not just helping you emote or feel, but helping you work with it. So we're laughing and joking, but we mean it. I know that when I hear a workbook, I'm like, well, let's go to work then. let's get better. So exciting.
Before we get started on your astrology and tarot readings and all this stuff that we're going to get into today, before we get into your album, I have to address the elephant in the room, which is the fact that we just got out of eclipse season and Mercury retrograde. You said, where the elephant? You said, where it at? Where it at? Okay, so we just got out of eclipse season and Mercury retrograde. What did you experience? That you want to share? What did you experience during April?
I did experience some travel delays, which I know is a thing, and just some travel issues, which is, that's common. The technology is gonna, I don't know, what is that? Technologize, however you put it. It's gonna do it. It's gonna do it. So yeah, I had a little travel delay, but it was all beautiful. There was a lot of travel actually this month. And then I have been connecting with so many people. I mean, this is a beautiful way to end April, right? Because I have been having so many deep, beautiful, life-changing conversations with people that I've met for the first time. This is like, it's happened maybe 5 times this month. Like another artist had reached out to me who I've admired from afar. She DM'd me like, let's have tea next time you're in town. And I'm like, I love you, of course. Like, we don't know each other, but I just admire her art. And then we went and had the most beautiful conversation. And then I went to a session while I was out there with someone that I had never met, and just so much insight and so much love. And I'm like, what is going on? This is what I really wanted though too, because I've been really manifesting and visualizing community in a way that I hadn't really been able to have fully. And it's all in divine time. Like, I feel like it happened when it did, because I still needed to do the work to meet people in a space that could truly reflect not just where I am, but where I'm trying to be. And I think that early on, when I was feeling lonely or feeling like, oh, I don't have community, I don't have connection, I needed to go back to myself really and figure out who I was trying to create myself to be, because I was looking for a community, but I didn't really, it was to fill in holes, that I hadn't done the work to patch up or to just kind of figure out what was going on there. So it makes sense that it's happening now, and I'm happy and I'm grateful. So April has just been a manifestation of that desire for community and affirmation and information. And it's been really beautiful.
No, that is, well, I'm glad April went great for somebody. I am so happy to hear that. Truly.
Wait a minute, what's been going on with you, girl?
It's been wearing me out. I'm one of those people that apparently is just going to be sick during the eclipse season. Like, there's just going to be different like things. So I am thrilled. I am so thrilled to hear that. And also that desire for community. I swear, I feel like when my kind of mystic journey or my spiritual journey began, that was, I think it was like wish, intention, kind of a petition to the ancestors, like literally maybe number 2 or number 3, please, please, please put me in community with my kind of people, like people that are really just trying to heal, to share, to help me bring out like who I'm supposed to be. I love hearing that because it is so important. I know a lot of us have like ancestor-led practices, like maybe if we're from the American South or we're from some tradition, sometimes we can be generations removed from it and not have that, that guidance or that mentorship that some other people that are lucky enough to be born into a religion or a community or something like where that's available. So I love to hear that. And we love the name of our podcast so much, the Melanated Mystics. I feel
it's
like
a great name.
Isn't it great? Isn't it great? I feel like, Karrie, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the credit for that one. I know we were like working on names for a while, but
we were. Halicue gives me credit for literally her life. Like, like really. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, I was gonna say Halicue was such a beautiful name. What does it mean?
Oh, God bless you. It's my grandmother's name. I'm named after my grandma Halicue. I'm from Southern Mississippi. She grew up outside of the Choctaw Reservation. It's a Black woman, but sure there was some relative or something back there. But I was named after Grandma Halicue. So second of my name.
Yes, I love it, and I love Karrie. My sister's name is Karrie, so that's just so familiar.
Aww. I love it. Well, there's so many ways to spell Karrie that I've noticed, I love being Karrie. There was a time when I didn't because I was like, I always had somebody else named Karrie, and I love Halicue's name because her last name is Hannah. So she's like an Avenger. That's what I think. I was like, Halicue Hannah, the Avenger,
that
like
totally sounds like a superhero name.
Oh my God, y'all are so nice. As opposed to a romance novelist, which one of my teachers told me once. She goes, oh, that's the name of a romance novelist. And I was like, okay. But speaking of monikers and names, you let us ask like a couple of questions before, and your definition of a melanated mystic is, quote, a person of color who's tapped into their magic and power. Of course, we love that. And with that in mind, do you mind sharing with us the story of your mystic birthday? And just by that, we mean, since we're talking about superheroes, kind of your origin story around your spiritual walk or your spiritual revelation. Like, do you remember the event that helped you tap into your magic and power?
That is such a beautiful question. Oh, wow. And what did you call it? My what birthday?
Your mystic birthday.
My mystic birthday. Ooh. So this is the moment where I felt like I was finally starting to tap into my magic. Yeah. It's interesting because I've always been really captivated by magic. Like even as a little girl, I was really, really into all things sort of witchy, even though pop culture tried to make it a scary thing or a dark thing. I think I'm just very curious. I mean, I know that I'm curious, but I think even back then, my curiosity didn't allow me to take much for face value. And so I thought that if there was something that was being portrayed in a negative way, that it probably was the opposite. And I really loved like Sabrina. I know these are all obviously like fictional characters, but I'm such a dreamer. I'm a very imaginative person, even as a kid. So I remember in the 5th grade, we had to write like an original story. Maybe it was the 4th grade. I don't know. But Sabrina the Teenage Witch was out around that time. And I wrote a story about a little Black girl who came into her magic. And I was pretty much just plagiarizing the entire Sabrina story and putting myself in it. Like, but I thought it was amazing. The craft, charm. I didn't see too much of us in those spaces, but I always I would try to do it. I would try to call corners. Like, I was really into it, even though I know a lot of people thought it was creepy at the time. But I'm like, no, this is so cool. Maybe we can make each other float. And then horoscopes, like all of that. And then dreams. I've always really been tapped into my dreams. I used to stay at my grandmother's house a lot and astral project. Like, I remember flying around the house and seeing everyone sleep. And I've always had that sort of connection. I've always been waiting as a kid, like, well, when are my powers going to tap in? Like, I thought that on your 16th birthday, some shit was going to happen, right? And so it's always been there. But when I really realized, like, okay, it's not this sitcom version of tapping into yourself where that someone has to give you this access and you have to. No, it's more about doing the internal work and unlearning and kind of shedding some of the things that have taken our ability to trust our own magic away. And I would say, to answer your question in the longest way possible, Halicue, I would say around 2011 is when I started tapping into it. I read this book, The Secret, that was speaking on the law of attraction. And I'm like, ooh, like, I really like this because I'm a wordy person. And it made sense, like, to think about words in this magical way and being able to attract what you want. And I started putting it into practice through journaling. I mean, I've been journaling since I was like 6, honestly, but not with the intention. It was more so like, I went to Miss Ballone's class and it was tight, like it wasn't anything great. But yeah, like around 2011, I started journaling with more intention and using the power of words to basically use the law of attraction to say, I'm so grateful. Well, first of all, grateful for all the things that were, and then grateful for things that hadn't happened yet. But I'm so grateful now that I live in Atlanta and that I am connected with someone who loves me as much as I love them, or just all these, whatever these things were that I wanted at the time. And I started to see the things at the bottom go to the top. And I'm like, ooh, okay. It's not this supernatural, like this thing that people think is just an impossibility. It's really just visualizing and tapping into these basic things that we're too busy to really pay attention to or set intention to. And yeah, I started to see the magic. And so my mysticism, I'd say, came then when I saw the proof in just putting in the work and shedding a lot of that stuff.
I love that answer.
Excellent. Wonderful. I'm so happy for this. Isn't it nice to know too, Karrie, like, oh great, we weren't the only ones, like looking at the little brown witch in the craft. Like, I remember being...
Tell me about it. Help me feel seen. Y'all were into it too then, yes.
Oh my gosh. Yes, I bought her. She, she's a tarot. She like creates tarot decks. She made,
Who, Rachel True?
Rachel True. It's called a True Heart. Oh, it's the cutest. It's one of my most worn decks. She did a brilliant job with that one. But I love the like Black and Brown Mystics. We can share that little that's me. Hey guys.
Well, that was our identification. That was we had to go looking. You know what I'm saying? And or even you just talking about astral projection. Which I looked at your chart and I was like, this girl might be astral projecting in the podcast. But I was like, we're going to get into it. You have some very, very mystical placements. But I remember, because my family's from the South, from New Orleans. And I remember at a very young age seeing, going down there and having mystical experiences that were just normal because we were down there, right? But I grew up in California. I'm from Inglewood originally, and I grew up in Northern California. And you couldn't go back and talk about what you saw down there or what you experienced, because it was like, we're in California now. And, that was just down there. But my mother would talk about astral projecting. She'd be like, I was touching the ceiling and I was visiting your brother while you were sleeping last night. And, at that time I was like, what? Like, what were you doing? But just for us to be able to start talking about these experiences because they are a part of our human experience that we're meant to have. And they inform who we are. And when we can start talking about them, we can be real with people. We can be, we can be real about our actual experience. It's not hidden. And so I just love that you come with it, Jade, just coming out and telling us about the experience.
And I think that's probably, thank you, and likewise, but I think that's probably why in pop culture they tried to make it feel shameful or really make it dark or negative or, or they were bitter or just, the way that witches or anything mystic was depicted always felt wrong. So it was by design to stop us from feeling comfortable for saying oh yeah, I'm a witchy bitch.
Yes, I'm a witchy bitch. Yes, I make things happen. There was almost this secrecy about how powerful you actually are. And if we deny how powerful you are, then people can't see how powerful they actually are. So it's all part of the design. It's all part of the design is what I'm saying. But thank you. I want to talk a little bit about your music and mysticism in your music. Okay. Did you have the intention of including mysticism in your music as part of your kind of coming out story? You said it's called, literally the third album's called Where Have I Been? So it's you coming out with that as well, this mystical identity. And then who do you want to impact with this information?
Okay. Well, I feel like the intention was set from the beginning of knowing that I would have these elements in my music. As you know, because I gave you my government name as y'all wrote on it. I created Jade Novah, the name and the persona of, because that was also a misconception that I had when I was feeling kind of lost in the beginning is who am I? Who am I? No, who do you want to be? Because we create ourselves, which when I shifted that, it's oh, I guess that is true. I could be anything that I want to be. And so that was the intention that was set from, again, 2011, when I started my solo artistry as Jade Novah. The name came from stones. I was really into them at the time, and just in the beginning stages of understanding the power of gems and stones and all of those things. And so Jade was the one I kept gravitating to the most and wearing the most, and I love what it represented. And so Jade, and then Nova, I've always been into the stars and the cosmos, like I said, and Nova is an exploding star. And so from the inception, I knew that I wanted to include those elements. And honestly, I started to become this idea of what I wanted to have just by naming myself that. And so, my first project was sort of that introduction. It was called All Blue, and it was about that. My transformation when I had moved to Los Angeles from Atlanta is where I started to find more of my tribe, and I started to be more affirmed in asking questions and being curious and not shamed for it. And so it was my sort of coming out project of, this is who I am. This is what I have to say. And it was a lot more subtle, I think, at the beginning. My intention was more so for me to be comfortable in my skin. And so now with the third project, Where Have I Been? I would say it's more of, now that I've figured this out in this, 13-year journey, my math ain't good. It's hard to carry the one. Sometimes I'm yes, is that however many years that is?
I feel you so hard with that. I have many gifts. Math is not one of math is not one of them.
However many years that was, that learning and processing and applying. Now I'm at the point now where I feel okay, I have done the work, and I want to show you where I have sort of been on my journey of self-love that is still evolving and growing, because sis has her moments. I had my moment today, which is why I'm a little behind on life, because I needed to get some things out. I think Where Have I Been is twofold. It was one, to show you where I physically have been in my childhood and how it affected the way I showed up in other relationships. My dad wasn't able to say I love you or sort of verbalize affirmation in that way. I've a lot of people from that generation dealt with that sort of thing. I'm coming to find out as I'm putting it out there. Yeah, and so that affected the way that I showed up in relationships, because I thought like hearing those things was enough to make relationships work, and that was enough to show that you loved me. And clearly we know that ain't true. That ain't enough actions. We need some tools behind it. Yeah, going on that journey of going inward. So then where have I been is also like, where have I been all my life? Because I've been looking for someone else or something else when really I am here to save myself. I chose to be here in this lifetime. I chose to learn these lessons. You're looking for, how do I create myself? How do I find love? All these external questions. But it's like, you literally are the answer to every question that you have, because you've decided to be here for this journey. Like, so that's really what it's about. And now I feel more empowered to give the tools, like you mentioned, because I feel like I've done, I'm learning from so many different things, but I'm learning what has worked for me and what has been helpful to me, just tools in my toolkit. So that's really where the journal came from, is just like inner child activities, self-love activities, reflection. And then there's sort of like a journal element as well, which helped me see the power of words. And so just really giving people, because when people were hearing the album, I was getting so many messages from people who are like, "Oh my gosh, this has helped me. I want to get therapy, or I want to have this conversation that I didn't have with my dad, and I'm gonna have it now." And because on the project there's this song between me and the, Wayne Brady, who plays my father on there. It's a love song between a father and a daughter, which I had never seen or heard in R&B, like that kind of love song. It's always relationship or heartbreak, but not between a father. And that's an important relationship. That's the first relationship, whether they're present or not, that affects how we show up in our future relationships. And so it was a accountability, about us not just pointing the finger at our parents or whomever and saying, "Oh, why am I this way because of you?" But more so like, okay, what did you experience, and giving you some grace, right? Because you're only doing the best you could do. And then at what point do I now take ownership of my ability to change what doesn't work for me, doesn't serve me, and move in a different way? So it's called Maybe It's Me. And so many people are like, yes, like I needed this, or just the therapy sessions that you wrote in with the Tabitha Brown, who plays my therapist. And like, I listened to it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can't, now that you have all this, what do you do with it? Let me give you something to help in the best way that I can right now. So that was the intention with the project.
And it also, I feel like when an artist, a mystic, really wants to give something, like, this is what this was like for me. I know your road is going to be different. Also, can I also say, when you said that some of your listeners and some of your fans have gotten back to you saying like, well, because of this, I think I want to go to therapy. Like literally something it was the most beautiful explosion in my heart. It makes me so happy, because especially as Black and brown women, whether it's mysticism, access to mental health care, it seems as though the greater world out there has a real interest in keeping us small, keeping us sick, keeping us not tapped into our power, demonizing the things, just connecting with the elements alone. Like that's wrong, that's evil, like whatever. Like, so I'm so happy to hear you say that. Oh, that's such a beautiful answer. It makes me so excited. It really gives me hope for younger generations and younger mystics. Like it really does. It really does. And I know I'm supposed to be asking a question. I would rather, Karrie was worried about gushing. I'm just like, oh my gosh, she's going to get more Black women into.
I need it too, please.
I'm like, she is going to be saving these little younger mystics. We are about to be unstoppable. Like we're about to be amazing. So, Karrie and our favorite modalities, and they're not only things that we were just interested in for whatever reason. I think I can speak for both of us at this point, Karrie. Like we came to our modalities when we really needed them, like really badly. I came to tarot when I was like 25. This was back in the 90s. Like I was newly married, far away from my family in Mississippi. And I realized like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm out here pretending to be like a grown woman. Like I'm only 23. Like I still had tons of trauma at that time, went nowhere near having the money or the guidance to like get myself into therapy. And I was at Barnes and Noble and I found the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot, and it was for $25, which was a lot of money for me back then. And it absolutely changed my life. And although it was different circumstances, you know, Karrie came to astrology during healing, like her beginning, her kind of spiritual path and spiritual walk. And as wonderful as these modalities are, as magic as we think they are, we also think they're wonderful for making practical decisions. They can actually help you reflect internally on what your strengths are, the places you have challenges, creativity. And so I would like to know, Karrie and I would like to know, is if you use your astrology and tarot in your life and career in kind of a practical way to help you make decisions. And if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about that.
Yes, I've always been into astrology since I was a little girl, even when it was more just the 12 sun signs in the back of the teen magazine. Like still, I'd be like, I'm gonna do what? Like that's literally how my project opens up, where my character is at work and she's checking her horoscope and it's telling her that she's going to meet someone that's going to change her life. And she's just like really into it. That was literally me as a kid, kind of moving with a little more intention or caution, you know, but then I sort of I was more skeptical as I got a little bit older, because I'm like, well, I'm meeting so many different people as I'm traveling and just connecting with other people. And I'm like, how can you just put 7 billion people into these 12 classifications? Like that just feels too limiting. So I'm like, I guess that's just, it's fun. But then a friend of mine did a birth chart reading and was explaining to me how there's so much more involved in it than just these sun signs, or you have a moon sign and you have a rising sign and so on and so forth. And when he like read me for filth and like was sharing some of it, it was so spot on that I'm like, whoa, okay. Because there is so much more nuance and things that I just didn't know, I'm like, I am even more intrigued. And I did such a deep dive on it. Actually names like my last EP, Moon in Pisces, because I resonated with it so much and it unlocks so much more about myself. Like I'm Gemini and my Mercury's in Gemini, honey. So I will talk you under that thing. I'm like, Gemini is just, like my grandfather literally called me Gabby as a kid because I wouldn't stop. And it makes so much sense. But I done forgot what the hell you done asked me, girl.
Oh, well, first of all, but let me just intersect and say, I don't trust people that don't talk and don't like to talk. Like, I know I come from a long line of lawyers and the gift of gab. My Venus is in Gemini. Like, what are we doing if we're not talking? Like, I don't know. I think it's just one of the most beautiful things. But the question was just, and I think the answer is yes. Do you use tarot and astrology in your life and career? And it sounds like absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. And even like if I'm contemplating something that I know intuitively is like, this is the right way to go, I will tell my husband, let me just pull about this. And I'm not super... Let me not act. I have a desire, and I know that I'm going to go deeper in that space of really understanding tarot on another level. I actually had to Google what you all sent me as far as which of the, major arcana. That was a term I had not heard before. I have like maybe 6 decks. And I have yet to do the dive that I've done in astrology that I have in tarot, but I've always been drawn to it. And the ones that I have are more, well, not all of them, but the one that I go to is more of an affirmation deck. And so I use it when I just know that I need that last little thing. So it's like, for example, my husband might say, like, you're undercharging. You got to stop. You got to know your value about this thing. And I'm like, oh, but I don't want to lose this opportunity. Okay, I know you're right. Let me just pull my cards real quick and I'll go. And it will literally affirm and line up every single time. And I think it's just because the intention, I know it's because the intention is there. And I already know, what I'm looking for. It's more so just that little affirmation to really trust myself in another through another part of me versus just here. It's just, okay, it's very clear. You got the answer you wanted, move accordingly, So I do in that way for sure.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. But teach me, y'all. Teach me all the things.
Oh, and also, I'm sure I speak on Karrie's and my behalf when I say, if you have any questions about any of this, please, we will happily. I think of nothing better than to talk tarot with like Jade Novah. Like, if you want any tutorial, please.
This is a goal. This is something that I really want to be able to master for myself and truly understand on a deeper level. So give me some basic tools or some books, whatever, to just really start that journey.
Halicue is a master at tarot. She's going to hook you up. She's going to hook you up.
I absolutely will.
I love about the way that Halicue, because I'm an astrologer and it's all about numbers, degrees, symbols. I have a lot of Virgo, like I said. The richness of the tarot is what Halicue introduced to me, because I can tell you all about timing. I can tell you about themes. I can tell you about cycles. Let me tell you, because we are cyclical beings. We're here on this planet. We are tuned to it. Yes. But Halicue is giving you the richness that you experience along the way. And that is where tarot comes in. And I have such a respect and appreciation for it, the way she's introduced it to me. And, so they go hand in hand.
I'm so curious how you all met.
Well, Karrie and I were both working at this really beautiful, it's not a botanica, but it's a beautiful shop. And as I was getting started, considering starting a podcast with my sister, and I knew there were things and this was the beginning of my own spiritual walk. I knew I needed much more information about myself, my chart. I'd never had a natal reading done. And I noticed in the beautiful, beautiful shop where we worked, there was this picture and this profile of this beautiful Black woman with these gorgeous, with these like gorgeous dreads. And I was like, are you kidding me? There's like another Black girl like around here, because we live in Marin County. It's not a lot of us. And I was like, I could just tell by what I saw in the description. I was like, she is going to be right for me. So then I started low key stalking her. So I'm following all of her, I'm following all of her socials and trying to see if we were aligned in that way. And I think Karrie, it's like part of your story. You were like on this, this journey, and astrology and therapy kind of came together for you in this way. And it was about like weight loss and a weight loss journey. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, okay. I was like, she is the one for me. And I started following and I did my first reading with her. And what Karrie explained to me in my chart opened up so much for me. It was literally my blueprint for starting my business, like starting the podcast. And it was just so illuminating for me. And I just was following her, and we kind of became mutuals. And I think, Karrie, you asked for a reading, and we very quickly kind of jumped into being mutuals. And I still consider Karrie like my mentor in so many ways in terms of like intuitive artistry and business. That's how. And now I'm her annoying married friend that we're an annoying tarot reading friend that drags her to dance classes. And
Halicue brings her cards everywhere. And every time, this is what happens with Halicue. You just be out having lunch somewhere, and then all of a sudden I hear some shuffling, and I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, Halicue's like, I was talking about something. She's like, I'm just trying to figure out what the cards say about what's going on, and you're just like, she's just under the table shuffling, And it's like having a therapist or a counselor with you at all times. Like, here's what's going on with me, But I would agree, that's our story, our origin story together. And I asked her, I said, to become a part of this, I said, I feel like we need to come together and talk about astrology and tarot, how astrology and tarot has helped us specifically as Black and brown women. And then so that other Black and brown women, and if you listen to the first season, it's mostly focusing on the topics of like what you were talking about, value, knowing your own value, Jade, as a, like being, because I think there's such a thing with, especially with Black and brown women, there's this idea that you can devalue us, or like we can give you a discount on something, like of our gifts, right? Or that because they're innate to us, then they should just be given all the time. we really wanted to mess with that stigma and just be like, nah, that's not the way we rollin', and that's our origin story. And we kind of manifested you in a way, being here, because you are really the epitome of what we're talking about and who we're talking about. Halicue has really helped me. I was going through a divorce and all of the emotional parts of that, but just also the beauty of it, because one of the things that we're going to talk about in your chart too, Jade, is that this energy of air, which you have so much air in your chart. Okay. The energy of air is about keeping things fluid. And one of the things, especially right now, partnerships is such a big topic in the world right now. Partnerships, relationships, how do we navigate this? One of the things that I study and I learn more about the air energy is that air energy is so much about connecting, but it's also so much about knowing how and when to let go too. And how to have that be a beautiful experience as well. Learning how to have, as Halicue calls it, a good connection, but a good breakup too. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that in your chart, but that's something that Halicue helped me out with so much during my divorce, and this kind of like letting go of this beautiful part of my life, but opening up to the next beautiful part of my life as well. We can get the elements inform so much of us and of our experience. And so, the gems, everything that we're talking about here, it's all informing us. And I feel like every day is giving us evidence of how connected we actually are. And we get a lot of distractions now that keep us from that. And so our job is to keep us, to bring it back, rein it back. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm really excited about you having an ebook with your album, because, music is audio spells. Like, we're programming folks. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's literally a spell in your ears.
Literally was just having this conversation. You are saying the lyrics over and over and over again. And it's a part of you. It sparks memories. It is such a powerful art form that is not taken responsibly at all.
Thank you. It is a responsibility. If you have the gift of being able to connect with people and they open themselves up to and receive what you're doing, then that is a responsibility. And it requires someone who has lived and who can see all parts of what they're saying, can see the higher octaves, the lower octaves, the light and the shadow of what they're saying. Some of us can, poets like yourself. And, but there are some who don't. And so, what I love about the ebook is that it's inviting you to go beyond the spell, right? It's saying like, oh, because I can get down and be like, hey, I like this song. This is me, right? Whenever somebody the music comes on, you're like, oh, this is me, right? You're like, you claim that as a part of your identity. But your ebook is saying, okay, now that you claimed this as a part of your identity, let's go deeper. Who are you really beyond the song? And that is what I was like, yes, girl, because that is the offering. That is a soul offering. And I believe that's what that music was originally meant to do, is like invite you deeper into yourself. And no, don't just stop at the top 20, don't just stop at who's popular right now. And so I'm a devotee, okay, of the Jade Novah Church. But I was so impressed with that. And like I said, even in the opening, I really do think that this is setting the standard for where artists go in the future in terms of the additional offerings and additional parts of themselves that they can explore. So I know we already talked a lot about your ebook, but that's going along with the release of this album. But what was the story behind it? Like, what was this where you decided like this has to go with this?
It really was, honestly, my intention with the album, and I had a whole dry eraser board about helping to shift the collective consciousness and to help people have accountability, to heal, to get back to self. Like, those were all the intentions behind it. And I was like, okay, telling the story and making the music, that's my offering. That's what I thought that it only was. But then when the responses were coming in and I'm understanding like, okay, I have been craving community. I have been craving all of these things. I need to create it. And what a beautiful foundation to start attracting other people who are dedicated to their healing than to create this book that is going to not only be of service to people who need it, but also help people be very clear about what I am trying to do and for them to find, like, I mean, you guys, right? Like it was just, hey, here I am. This is what I'm trying to do. It was to pull and meant to attract and then just to provide support. But yeah, it wasn't the initial, I didn't know that it would be in the form of the self-love workbook at first. I thought the music and the visual and the story would be that. But when people were saying like, oh, this, like you said, this is me. Oh, this helped me through a divorce. Butterfly helped me through a divorce. Or the song, Where Have I Been? Help me, about this. Like so many, like y'all, it was overwhelming because I'm like, whoa, like brought me to tears multiple times. Just people being led to light and being led to love of self and even others, because I love partnership. I do. I'm reflecting that with my husband, Devin. He's my business partner, my producer. The conversations that we had from creating the project together brought us closer, but also made a lot of beautiful love songs for people who are in that space to be able to articulate what they're feeling with their partner. So, just all of that response was like, okay, cool. Let's just now have a way to do some of the things that I have done on this journey for yourself and to write your own story, basically. Because it's like, this is my story. And yes, we can connect and touch and agree, but what is yours? So now you can look at yours in the same way that I was able to do. Maybe music isn't your calling, but me making this album allowed me to reflect and go deeper. So here's a template for you to kind of do the same. Even if music and words aren't your gift, it's spelling it out for you to just have an easy way to get your story out. Because we don't reflect enough. We just kind of keep moving and moving. And not, like you said, we are cyclical. Like it does come back. Like these lessons continue to come back until we really do the work of understanding what this lesson is that I'm supposed to be learning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that so much. And can I say too, just on a magical tip, on a spell tip, the work that you do in something like Jade Novah's ebook, that is what we call petitioning. Like I'm from Mississippi, so in Hoodoo, like we petition, like whether we're using, like for me, like I love to make a photocopy of a tarot card and then like cut it out and use it, like however it is, if it's a spell or an altar. Or in the old days, we used to use brown paper bags, because let's be honest, they're like, in the deep South or whatever. Or God forbid, our enslaved ancestors, wasn't no paper, wasn't no notebook paper. Like we would use whatever we had, but whatever you're doing, whatever you're exploring in Jade's ebook, I promise you the question she's asking you, the things she's asking you to reflect on or to be introspective on, I promise you is something in there that if you needed to come up with an affirmation or if you needed to come up with a petition, I bet you whatever you're discovering or whatever kind of jewel you're mining in the book that she's given you, if you were actually setting intentions, like actually trying to like manifest, you're going to be able to do that. So that's like a little tip, like this little tip for people. A, her album is the element air, like music is air, and B, also air, any kind of writing or communication, especially in the tarot.
I didn't know music was air. I mean, I guess I never thought about that. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And communication, writing, like, and like, again, like in the tarot, like the sword. So whenever somebody's like, well, what do I do about it? I'm like, let's use the card and let's use the suit. So if it's a suit of air, I'm like, you bring in your song, you bring in, you bring in music, you bring in incense, you bring in symbols of things in flight, like butterfly, bird. Yes. Like these are, or at least that's the way I teach, or I would, So when we say to like in the magician card, if we're bringing together the elements to make something happen, to be a catalyst, we need earth, air, fire, water. Whenever people are like, I don't know about air, I'm like, what are you talking about? You are listening to like air, music, air. Those are those things. But to bring it back to my favorite topic, which is tarot, And Jade, I love that you got to look up a little bit about like what is an arcana. And just for our listeners, I'll say major, minor arcana in the tarot, just a little quick, brief lessons. The first 22 cards in the deck are called the major arcana, which is like big, and I describe them that way, like big booming voices from the sky, like major themes about a major time in your life, or like a symbol or a sign that the universe is like, the sun, the sun shines on this endeavor, the moon, things may not be as they appear, the emperor showing love through systems, the empress showing love through love and just, divine feminine creativity. So that's what the major arcana is. And I also tell people that if you were to look at just the major arcana, a person wouldn't even need to be literate to get an idea of like, oh, okay, the sun, like the high priestess, like justice, the judge sitting there like with a sword. I get it. So major esoteric secrets, like major messages. And so Jade, so you looked it up a little bit. Was there a card that you feel like represents you in the major arcana?
Yes, of all of them, the magician spoke to me.
Of course it did.
That was the one. I'm like, oh, yep, okay, that's the one.
Okay, which means, and so for everybody, I'm going to find the magician in my deck. This is the African Tazama Tarot. This is without a doubt, one of the most expensive decks I've ever had, but I love it because it's based on the old Rider-Waite, but it uses these beautiful sepia photographs from different countries in Africa, and they also do this really cool Byzantine thing where they show like the halo behind the head of the person. And so the magician is this beautiful figure, either, man or woman, and they're standing behind a table, and there's normally like flowers, and like it's as though they're in a bower or like in a garden. They're holding a wand, and they're holding it up to the sky, which is about channeling the divine, bringing it down here on earth, not just for fun, but to do work. Like the magician is trying to be a catalyst. The magician is trying to make something happen. So whenever that card comes up, and it's almost always, if you are a maker, if you consider yourself a mystic in any way, almost always the magician and the high priestess is a card where those powerful people see themselves. So I'm like, yeah, of course, she's very powerful, and she's here to make something happen. She brings together earth, air, fire, and water to create, to be a catalyst, and to make something happen. And also, y'all, in your own pulls and your own readings, if the magician comes up, it means do some magic. It means I don't even care if it's like walking your kitchen, blowing cinnamon in, or stirring love into, and intentions into your coffee in the morning, or something you're making for somebody you love. That's the magician. When you see that, it's like, yeah, you need to do some more. You've got the power. You're a powerful person. If you bring the elements together, you can do something. So thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you.
Thank you for getting me to think of these things. I just, we got to talk offline. I have so many questions, and you're like, y'all stop interviewing me, but I really have so many questions.
Is this not the most beautiful magician card? Come on. Is that not beautiful? Come on. The African Tazama Tarot, I love the creators of this deck. They also made one that's called the Love Oracle of Eden. And the card I pulled for us for our Oracle card this morning before the interview was Uplift. And they are just an amazing couple, a couple of color. And it looks like the rites of spring, right? It's three beautiful. And that's definitely what we're doing with this episode, uplifting for sure. All right. Oracle readings, and it sounds like Jade uses an oracle. Like she uses it. They are wonderful for giving you a flavor. Like it's kind of broad there, and they're so creative, right? Because it's not like the tarot where you kind of have to stick to, like kind of some ideas and concepts of 78 cards. The Oracle deck is whatever the beautiful creator decided it was important for y'all to know. They write their thoughts on what the cards mean, and they're just a really freeing way to kind of come up with what you're going to do. You know what I mean? Like a way you can, really look for yourself and try and explore. Anyway, I will totally monopolize my question time. So I'm going to hush and pass it over to Karrie, because I will keep talking to y'all about these cards until Karrie, oh my goodness. Karrie, how lucky are we get to do this and talk about this all day? Oh my God, I feel like the luckiest Black girl alive sometimes.
We are the luckiest Black girls alive. I really think that that's what we were given. We are the luckiest Black girls alive because this is our language. Do you know what I'm saying? And I actually think this is going to become the language as we move further into the age of Aquarius in terms of like intuitive gifts, recognizing them and using them as a language. And with that, I'm so excited that, thank you, Halicue, because I always love how she gives such a rich overview of tarot, and I learn something every time. I want to get into your little astrology reading right now, and talk a little bit about some of the major themes. And you were so gracious because we asked, if you had a specific topic that you wanted to get into. Because a lot of people come to astrology, they're like, I want to know about this, I want to know about that, And you literally were like, whatever comes up organically. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to limit it. I'm open.
It's so freeing. And it makes so much sense. Okay. Because what I'm going to talk about here, I'm looking at Jade's chart right now. Jade is a Cancer rising. So the top three, I call them the holy trifecta. That's the sun, the moon, the rising. Most people know their sun sign. Okay. I think as more people get into astrology, they start to get into that moon, they start to get into that rising. The way I like to look at it is the sun is how you teach others. This is how, look at the actual sun, which is the star of our known universe. It represents how we illuminate those around us, right? We don't even know the other planets exist if we didn't have the sun to illuminate and say, there is more than you here. And so the sun represents how we teach, we're human beings are animals. We learn by watching each other. So, Jade, you're a Gemini. And which means that, if you are, you're an air sign, and if somebody needs more air in their life, like say they're a Capricorn or Virgo, Taurus, and they're super grounded in their life, they're going to need some Jade. They're going to need an air sign to come in and be like, hey, where's your curiosity? Where's your desire to communicate, messenger, go deeper, ask questions, right? We all are teaching each other. So we need our four elements to balance us out. Now, you are a Gemini sun, so you teach others by how you speak and how you vocalize. So she's teaching us, y'all. She's teaching us with her talent, okay? That's not a mistake. That's her original recipe, okay? And she's living her chart, as I often like to say, okay? Now that rising sign represents what we project out into the world. So I often say it's like the energy that we have when we walk into a room. This is what walks in the room before us. Okay. It's like your perfume. It's the thing that people pick up on as soon as they meet you. I also, because, I spent some time living in New York, I always think of the rising sign as your first line of defense. How would you get out of say you're on a subway train and there's somebody that comes in and they start in problems, right? How would you get off that train? That's your rising sign, okay? And so the rising sign represents how you do that. Jade, as a Cancer rising, she would tap into the emotions of the person who is bringing the strife. She would be like, no, who hurt you? Okay.
Girl, literally what went through my mind is like, I would see the good in them and I would try to nurture them.
Right. Okay. Now, Halicue in juxtaposition is an Aries rising, which means she would knife her way out the train. Okay. We gonna box. One of us gonna win. One of us ain't. Okay. That's Halicue. Right. Right. Now that's a fire sign. That's a fire sign, a rising sign. You're a water sign, Jade. I'm a Libra rising, which means I'm an air sign. But I'm all about balance and partnership. So I would try to negotiate with the person. Okay, how many of us can get off this train first? Like how at the next stop, how many of y'all, okay, what you gonna give me, right? So this is how we try to keep the balance. So our rising sign, helps us understand how we're coming across to people, especially as soon as we meet them. Sometimes we may only meet someone's rising sign. It is our first impression. When we get to know them a little better, then we let them see our sun. We let them see how we shine and how we're willing to shine on them. And then the moon sign represents who we really are. And you only get in there when we decide and when we trust you enough. And that's actually who you actually are, is your moon sign, before you came out into the world and got, societalized or whatever. Okay. Now, Jade, has that moon in Pisces. Okay.
I'm actually so excited to Pisces and Aquarius. I have to tell you, they're the archetypes that elude me the most. I don't really understand. I could say some words that, and I do you know what I mean? I could give some phrases that indicate that I understand the archetype, but I don't really get it. So I'm no pressure, Karrie. I'm just to really learn.
I was telling Halicue earlier, I was like, I'm so excited because that Jade is coming on, and she is water and air, right? Because Halicue and I are both Leos.
Fire.
Yeah, we're fire. And so it's not often that we get to, interact and meet the fire, the water and the air. But the moon sign represents your emotions. It's also where you manifest from. So, because we manifest through our emotions, right? Whatever we believe is what comes to us, right? And so the Pisces energy is the last sign of the zodiac. It is the wise elder. I call it the Jedi of the zodiac. It represents the sign that has been every other sign. And so it literally, you are carrying all of the energy and the wisdom and the knowledge of each sign in your heart. And this represents why you're able to connect and empathize with just about anybody. But it also represents, and moon in Pisces is I believe, the most psychic moon in the zodiac. And it allows you to cross worlds, and it allows you to interact with worlds. And that is, something we often say, oh, you need to have more boundaries. The point of the moon in Pisces is to not necessarily take in other people's energy, but to transmute it. Your job is literally to raise it up, and you can't raise it up if you're not willing to touch it in the first place. So it is such an important sign, the moon in Pisces. Now, your moon in Pisces is in the 9th house of spirituality and spiritual travel and higher learning and higher philosophy. So you are a bit of a guru when it comes to that heart of yours. You see the bigger picture. One of the things of Pisces energy is there's a desire to escape at all times. That's because Pisces knows that we are so much more than our physical bodies. It's kind of like waiting for everyone else to catch up, I always tell people, I was like, I don't want to talk about you. I want you to, this is a conversation, not just a presentation. If you want to reflect back on that a little bit before I get into your year, what's coming up for you.
That I resonate with all of that. I really do. It all makes so much sense to me. That makes sense. And it's so interesting how they all seem to inform each other. Because if you're saying that, because of my moon placement, I have experienced sort of all of the signs, and I'm then able to have empathy like a Cancer would, which is so my rising placement, and then having so much to say as a Gemini, it all seems like it just feeds each other. So it all makes sense what you're saying.
It all feeds each other. I love that you said that, because it's not a mistake. That's what I'm saying. Dice were thrown. Okay. And that's the way I think of it. People are always trying to therapy themselves out of their chart. And I'm like, no, honey, this was you. This is the energy you were meant to bring, And if you feel like you don't fit this world, the world don't fit you, and that's the way that you move through it. Now, you have your sun, your Mercury, both in Gemini, in the 12th house of Pisces. This makes you telepathic. It makes you highly psychic. It also makes you someone who, again, is what I call an edge walker. This is someone who has who basically walks in the conscious world and in the subconscious world. So your dreams must be off the charts.
That's what I was telling you. Oh, yes.
Yes, you communicating in your dreams, okay? You are having conversations, and then you're bringing information across and then bringing it into the conscious world. So your channel, for sure. That's what's going on. Now, you also have Chiron. I don't often talk about Chiron. Chiron is an asteroid. It's not a planet. It's called the wounded healer. And it represents our deepest psychological wound, usually inflicted between the ages of 0 and 8. When you have your Chiron is in Gemini, which is literally your sun sign and your moon sign. Having Chiron there means it can feel like self-sabotage in a way, like you sabotage your own intelligence or you don't trust it. When I'm an astrologer, I'm looking at your chart and I'm going, this woman is the truth, period. And, but her experience of her truth, you have always felt like you had to do more investigation. It's like, I don't know, like maybe I need more investigation into that. Is that really the truth? Your gut is gold, period. Like whatever she says on the album, go do that. Okay. Because that was source telling you to go to do that. Okay. And I also want to say the 12th house, before I get into your year, the 12th house, this is something that I discovered through my own, journey into astrology. The 12th house, there are 12 houses of astrology. Each one of them represents a different area of life. The 12th house is the psychic house. It is our connection to our mother and our mother's lineage. It is also the connection to the WOMB, the womb. So any planets that you have in the 12th house are unconscious to you, because they actually were the cellular energy that your mother carried when she was pregnant with you. And for you, for any children that you have. So if you go and you look at your child's 12th house, they might have planets there. This reflects the energy that you were giving them, just like you were giving them your food, your water, your air. You were also giving them your cellular memories and your energy. This is why I say it's so important for pregnant women to be completely protected during this experience, because that is literally going into the child, and the child will experience it as their own energy, like a wound, or like that they don't remember where they got it from. And they will spend a lot of time trying to figure out where this showed up. It's like, I know I'm bleeding, but I don't know where I'm bleeding from. I am pretty sure that was a big part of your journey, basically, is understanding yourself, because it was unconscious to you, but absolutely conscious to everyone else. So that makes her a mystic, period, point blank. Okay. Done.
In case there was ever any question about that, there's no need to ever have to question that ever. Oh my gosh.
Now let's talk a little bit about your year as a Cancer rising. For anybody listening who wants to learn a little bit more about astrology, you want to take a look at your rising sign to give you an idea of your year, because the rising represents the whole life, not just how we teach others and not just our personal emotions. As a Cancer rising, this is kind of hilarious, because I was like, of course, the two major themes of your year, Jade, are career takeoffs, period. Okay. And expansion of friendships and your social sphere through your public life.
We were just talking about this. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, sounds powerful. Sounds like it's already happening. Keep going, Karrie.
I know, because I was literally taking doing this. I looked at your chart earlier and I did all these notes earlier. And then as you were talking, I was like, this is happening right now. Okay. So this last month in particular, because this last month is when we had this solar eclipse in Aries, okay? This eclipse in Aries represents your 10th house of career. So this eclipse was going to affect your career and your public life. The 10th house sits at the very top of your chart, which represents it is the place where you are seen. It is called our celebrity chart, part of our chart, basically, because it sits at the top. You had your major eclipse there, which means a new beginning. Now, where the lunar eclipse in Libra that happened right before that Aries eclipse was in your 4th house, which represents your home environment. And so there was kind of a letting go of what you knew your home to be like. It's almost like you're letting go of that home, any parts of it that didn't serve you. Okay. In order to move into these new spaces, you are moving into a completely new social circle. You are moving into and it's not like the other ones are going to not be there anymore. You're expanding is what's happening. And expansion takes time. right? Which is why none of this could have happened before now. That's one of the reasons I love astrology, is that we will spend our whole life trying to make something happen. And it's like, I look on a chart and I'll be like, girl, that's not supposed to happen until like a year from now. Let's chill, like calm down, like you gonna get it. Don't worry about it. This is where it was meant to happen now. Jade, your North Node, which represents your soul purpose, is in your 10th house right now, which represents your soul purpose is this career, this leadership in this career. You are also having to deal with some identity issues here. I'm not going to lie, okay? Because it's like moving into a new identity. There is some growing pains, right? But this is also the part of fortune, which is a part of Arabic astrology, is also in that 10th house, which is how you find your fortune. This is all happening right now this year. At the same time, we just had a Jupiter and Uranus conjunct, which is in your 11th house of your social media and social sphere. So when I was saying earlier that you are like the artist of this new age, you're setting the precedence through which all other artists are going to be moving. Like everybody's going to come up with an ebook. Everybody's going to have some way of interacting and asking people to go deeper and softer into their experience of life so that they can bring it back to the collective and help us all evolve. The way I look at this is I studied writing for film and television. I went up to Canada to go study, to go to grad school to learn that. And we had to learn also writing for video games as part of the program, but then we got to choose our major. And I thought I was going to choose writing for film and television. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that I chose games, writing for games. I love video games. Why? Because they allow us to interact with it. We're not just being programmed with a story, we're interacting with it. And that is what you are bringing as an artist, this opportunity to interact with the work, right? To walk through it, to experience it, and to claim an avatar within it for yourself. So I could go all over the chart, girl. And even when you told me your husband is a Virgo rising, I said, I need to look at his chart too.
Girl, I'll send it on over.
Thank you. I see both of y'all together,
Yeah, he's an Aries sun. And then Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the other placement of the big three.
The moon?
Yes, his moon. Mm-hmm.
Halicue is a Sagittarius moon too.
Oh.
And then he's a Virgo rising.
And you said the key to manifesting comes from your moon. Like I literally, everything like popped open when you said that. You gave me something entirely new to talk about.
This is really what's going on in your chart is some pretty amazing stuff. All of your transits are at the top of your chart. So all of it's very, very public. And so I would say, because you are so psychic, Jade, you really do have to take some time for yourself. Like there's going to need to be time where you just need to hermit, you know what I'm saying? And replenish, because you are teaching right now. And the more you give, the more we gonna take, is what I'm saying. Being able to have regular time in nature and regular time just away to replenish, so important for you. Just go like dive in the ocean, just go submerge yourself in a bathtub, tell people. I literally say, like, our artists are public people. They need to go onto social media, put the little, out, gone fishing sign. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nothing coming out of here for a minute. I'm taking time. You're teaching us how to do that. You're teaching us how, like, I'm an artist. I'm very well known. I'm seen, but this is my time. And that's even teaching us about how to do that. Right. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just going to touch a little bit and hand it over to Halicue, but this is your year. And so understanding that this is your year for us, but this is also your year for you. So take the time for you.
Ashe. Oh, I love it. It all resonated so deeply. Dang, there was something that you said, and I just didn't want to interrupt you because you were flowing. The identity, which is so funny because I am writing a one-woman show called Identity Crisis right now. So when you said it, I was like, because that's literally been the struggle and that last little piece of shedding things that don't serve me any longer as I'm kind of creating this new version.
See, I guessed wrong. I saw your reaction when she said that, and I was like, I wonder what is going on with identity. And the thing I went to was like, I wonder if they're trying to craft her or make her into something that's different than who she actually is. So that was my first guess, but I was wrong on that one. But
I'm an independent artist because of that very reason. Because when I was younger, I was in a group and we were on the like major label train and all of that. And the self-sabotage you speak of, I definitely took advantage of that trait of myself. But knowing, intuitively that if I'm to do this, I can't be a manufactured product. I can't carry out a superficial narrative or something that just doesn't feel authentic. When I am doing something inauthentic, I can't, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So yes, thank goodness that I didn't go in the major label system. What I thought I wanted, and I thought this was the outlet for it. Thank goodness. Because no, I never have to worry about anybody telling me what to do or what to say because I can't move that way. I can't. No.
the freedom of that, like, I love that so much. Goodness, I love this podcast.
It's such a great. I'm like this. I'm gonna be tuned in, y'all. I'm so excited
It's
that
so
we
good.
found each other.
I know. I got more people that I want to get into their charts and help us understand and explain, but then also help them explain, just like understand, just like, yeah, once you understand yourself, you move through the world so differently and so much more authentically. So thank you so much, Jade Novah, for being with us. What a treat. What a joy. Thank you so much for giving us so much of your time.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Melanated Mystics. We hope you've enjoyed this journey with us. Check out our social media on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Discord for weekly mini snippets of astro and tarot guidance. And if you're craving more insight, tutorials, and answers to your burning questions, head over to our Patreon membership. Every week, we upload engaging videos where we dive even deeper into the world of tarot and astrology. And you can also find exclusive behind-the-scenes footage and sound bites from our guest episodes. So grab your tarot deck, download your natal chart, and we'll meet you over on Patreon to connect with us and other tarot astro enthusiasts in the comments section.